their funds?
I've had a conversation with them about this, so they're expecting the time extension request. It was done virtually, but for every project like this, they do a grant monitoring, so they just review all the files. So we went through that a few weeks ago, and I explained that we would likely need to request 3 more months or so to get this thing across the finish line. So yeah, they should be expecting it.
What are the odds on a percent value of those funds not being provided?
I really couldn't say. I do know that there are more funds available than project. That's just because some property owners at different points dropped out.
Well, we want to see this project completed and probably sooner than later. What are the odds that the county is going to have to kick in any funds for this? 2 odds question. You didn't answer the first one.
I'm sorry. So we would continue to ask that the county float the CDBG portion, at least for construction.
Yeah.
Everything else can come from Iowa West. And I'm sorry, what was the other question?
As we float those funds, we're going to get reimbursed.
Yes.
Okay.
Grant, the material's there for that wall, correct?
Yes.
It's sitting right there.
The thing that's being waited on are windows that were ordered back in 21. And that's a supply chain thing, but
I'm sick of hearing supply chain.
I know.
But it is a big deal.
Ask the Canadians.
Yeah, they're gonna have a little more problem.
Okay, any other questions for Grant? We have a motion and a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Grant, I have this letter signed for you if you want to take it with you, but please take it in and get a copy. Make
Okay.
sure Jeanette has a copy of it, would you please?
okay. Oh,
Congratulations, Grant. Grant's the new non-girl, so.
will be.
Will be.
Awesome, congrats.
So I'm sorry to hear about the recent application struggles. We've been a little bit short-staffed recently, and we've kind of been doing work in silos, so whatever I can do moving forward to shore anything up like that.
This isn't on you, but we will probably reach out on
Okay.
that at some point to revisit it. What do you mean do?
I didn't pass that to Grant.
Oh.
Okay.
Hello, Sherry.
Thank you all very
Hey,
much.
thanks
I
a lot.
appreciate your time.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thanks, Grant.
Oh, that's.
See you, Grant.
See ya.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. Dr. Elliott, I take it's not coming.
No, he cannot be here.
All right, we have the Sherry Dahlheim, medical examiner, chief medical examiner investigator, discussion decision approved. Gosh, I hate to say this, but the unclaimed body policy and related fees and expenses. Sherry, you're up.
Okay, so as it currently stands across the state of Iowa, there is no standard policy for unclaimed decedents or unidentified. There is each county within the state is fending for themselves in terms of developing their own policy if they have one. I would say, I don't have an exact number, but I would say the majority do not because it's based on need, and there's not a huge number of incidents where this happens. After consulting with different counties, with Matt Wilbur, meeting with funeral homes, having discussions with them on several different occasions, there's a definite need for it because these funeral homes that have participated in our on-call removal rotation, where they're available if there's no one to tell us what funeral home they want, then they're taking a risk by picking up a body that we may never find a family member for. And then they're absorbing those costs. And that's something that we have to mitigate because they're doing a community service by doing these removals on behalf of the county at our discretion. So we've met with them. They've expressed their concerns about that. And I've developed a policy that may need to be adjusted as we go. Again, there's not that many cases where this happens, but we need to have something in place so they're assured that things are going to be resolved. And we needed to set a timeline on that as well so that they don't end up having a decedent in their facility for an extended period of time because there's no dignity in that for the person that passed away. So what we've proposed is that we have a 10-day period to work with as the medical examiner's office. And we will implement multiple resources in terms of finding any next of kin or even acquaintances that might be able to assist us. And that includes law enforcement, social media is on the list, doctor's offices, et cetera. And it's a pretty long list and it's not all inclusive. We'll use whatever resources we can get our hands on, short of paying for it. I'll avoid that if I can. Because that usually involves a monthly expense and I don't want to have to do that because we just don't have that many cases. But it would involve, there's some legalities with it. It would involve, I'm not sure about the newspaper notice part of it yet. If we run it once, twice, we've got a 10-day period. If we run it once, I believe we're covered legally because we put a notice out.
Yeah, I mean, some of the struggle is on a 10 days, when you gotta get notice out quick, and it's gonna take a certain amount of time for them to run it, so.
So is the 10 days after it's been published then?
No, 10-day period from date of death.
November. It doesn't have to be after the notice, 10 days. Do you follow me?
No.
Okay, so there doesn't have to be a notice requirement for the clock starts running on.
Well, what Douglas,
You or we, the county, are arbitrarily using 10 days, right? We came up with that number.
it's.
Okay. And then that's the day of them picking the body up.
Day one.
Okay. And then so, if they pick the body up on a Saturday, you're not gonna be able to get notice until, put it in the paper until, well, they don't publish on Monday, but, so you won't be.
It's gonna take you that long to realize no one's claiming the body, isn't it?
We're gonna know, usually day of, we're gonna start looking for next of kin, so a notification could be made. So if there isn't one, I'm usually gonna get PD involved immediately on that piece of it, or law enforcement agency. I'll be asking them to have a detective start running names and trying to find them based off of that. Sometimes we can find them right away, other times it takes a day or two. I don't have any that are unclaimed at this point. We do have one unidentified, but we don't currently have possession of that individual. He's with the state, so.
So let's hypothetically in 2021, how many of these did we have?
I had 2 cases where they were unclaimed, but the family was found very quickly,
Right, okay,
so,
in 2021,
correct,
okay.
yep. So,
Nothing to hold the family to obligated to take care of it.
well, in the event that we do not find family in that time frame, then we will follow the next of kin designation for the right to disposition of that person. And the bottom of that list is the medical examiner. So in the event that we don't find spouse, child, parent, sibling, cousins, etc., acquaintances even are on that list, then it's medical examiner. Dr. Elliott will have the right to authorize cremation of the individual. And we will do that if it's an identified person. If it's an unidentified person, they will go for autopsy and then we will bury them because they are not identified. So we don't want to destroy the
And
individual.
that expense is on the funeral home or us?
If it's one that we authorize and we have not identified family, then we will pay for that cremation. The average cost.
Or the burial, I'm talking.
Or the burial as well.
Okay.
Yes. If family's identified later, our office can send the family a bill. If they don't pay, there's not gonna be that many cases. It's nothing that would be worth pursuing or putting a lien against an estate or anything like that because the cost isn't going to.
Sherry, is that the policy you've been working on right there?
Yes,
Can you get us a copy of that?
I sent that
Yeah.
It should be in your packet, brother.
Thursday.
Here, you wanna see it? I got it. You can
Do you have
take
an
it.
extra if you
You
need
know
it?
what, I got it right here, I guess I didn't scroll down to it, I'm sorry.
Well, Yes, we can certainly do that if you'd like. I mean, I have a couple questions. Sure, I want you to turn to page 5.
Page 5.
I think it's page 5. I counted the pages, it looked like it was 5.
Which one is it? Yep.
All right, tell me with this, where it's highlighted.
There's no reimbursements made to
Yeah,
a funeral
okay,
home?
No, I want to go above that.
Okay.
All right. The funeral home is eligible for reimbursement of $1,000 paid by us.
Correct. My office, it would be a line item out of my office, my budget.
Yeah.
Okay,
Now I want you to go to the bottom of that page.
yes.
In the second bullet, it says the funeral home is eligible for reimbursement of $3,000. Which one is it?
The 1,000 is cremation, 3,000 is burial. And it's indicated in each of those.
There's a difference, Tim, between unclaimed and unidentified.
You said it in that.
There's a difference between unclaimed decedents, we know who they are, we just don't have a next of kin or somebody that we can find, and unidentified, we don't know, we just have a body and we don't know who they are. So we have identified them but nobody's claiming them, those are gonna be bodies that they're looking at cremation. If they are identified, they get sent in for autopsy, those are bodies that are gonna get buried. So there's 1,000 reimbursement for cremation, there's 3,000 reimbursement for burial.
Are we required to, God, this, I don't even like talking about this, but, are we required to bury someone? What makes that, who makes that call?
Well, I mean, it's always preferred, right? I mean, since you never know what's gonna come up, it would always be preferred to bury, I'd say, anyone. Short of, some sort of directive, to the contrary. I mean, what if something turned out, to be suspected foul play? I mean, once you've cremated the body, there's no way to know that. The downside of that is just honestly financial, right? I mean, at some point, I get called all the time by Sherry or her investigators saying, are we gonna autopsy? We're not gonna autopsy. If there's any suspicion of foul play, we autopsy. But I suppose, theoretically, could you have that suspicion be raised 6 months later or a year later? Sure, and that's the problem, the risk of author. Although, where are we at on cremations, like just in the general public anymore? It's like 80%, isn't it, something like that?
It's upwards of 50, but not quite that high.
Okay, all right, so it used to be almost nobody was cremated, now about halvesies, I think, go cremation versus, burial. So, this is really just a decision that you have to make as a board on budget. If you said, I don't wanna have anybody get cremated, we wanna, bury them all, that's fine, you just have to know that you're gonna deal with the $3,000 reimbursement on those cases.
Okay,
I'll claim you as an acquaintance.
But,
I'll claim you as an acquaintance.
but, I hate to say devil's advocate, if someone does come back, they have the ability to use legal to, if we don't have the body, is that?
Not really. That was the initial draft of this had me, the county attorney, authorizing cremation. And I had said, I can do that, but if you look at, it's Iowa Code Chapter 144C.5, gives sort of a hierarchy, right? You start with spouse, then you go probably to kids and parents, siblings, as they go through, and you get to about number 9 on that list of hierarchy. And it's basically any other person that can sign an affidavit that they are aware of the person, the identity of the person, and are, accepting responsibility for making a decision about their disposition, with the understanding that the person that signs that affidavit is subject to liability for any cost, direct or indirect, as a result of making that decision. Then you move to category 10, where it's the county medical examiner, and there is no such, like you're assuming, liability issue. So my concern was, if I'm entering that chain, the only place for me to enter is in the, if we're wrong, we get sued and lose, category. I talked to Garfield this morning, I'm covered, so it's, ICAP would cover it. insurance for us. So, I mean, I'm fine being in it. I just thought probably the better option is just let the county medical examiner make that decision themselves, because they're not in that, in that chain.
Sherry, how many will we have to bury?
We don't have any currently, I mean,
I mean,
It's
one a
gonna-
year, one every 2 years?
maybe one every 10, maybe?
Okay, good.
5,
Right,
10?
I'm glad to hear that.
I mean,
Will option for the cremation, if, we'll push that way more than not, correct?
yes, if there's ever any doubt, then we will bury.
Oh, and John Wayne said bury.
Right? I mean, just to advocate for the individuals that have passed away, if that was one of your loved ones, and then you find out they were cremated, and there's potential for conflict.
We keep records of trying to contact everybody.
We've created a log, it's gonna be tweaked yet, but it's gonna have who we've contacted, the date, the time, what the results were, so we are covered with due diligence, so.
I like that.
Yeah, the numbers initially, we may have to review periodically based on funeral homes' cost. As we know, things aren't always staying the same. It's pretty fluid as far as expenses go. So the burial piece, I might have estimated low. So that could be a little bit higher, because there's gotta be a plot, and the funeral home would provide that. And then open and close, a vault, a casket, the embalming, the time, the removal, the supplies.
Well, like Brian kind of hinted to, hopefully this doesn't happen. Matt Wilbur, you've had an opportunity to review this.
I have.
Is it your recommendation that we approve it?
Yeah, I don't have any problem with it. I mean, legally, it's probably best we can do. But we're trying to figure out a system that does not have us become a profit center for the funeral home, but does not have the funeral home eating public costs that they shouldn't have to eat. We're trying to figure out a system that makes them whole, because they are doing a community service when they agree to take these, unidentified, unclaimed bodies, and they shouldn't have to get hammered themselves with those costs. And so we're trying to figure out something that's fair. And it could be that they come in and they can establish, hey, our actual costs of cremation are actually $1,500 versus, or our actual burial costs are $4,000. It's a lot easier to tweak these policies when all you're doing is making adjustments in the amounts than in the procedures themselves.
And like they said, they're not using the most expensive stuff, they're doing the minimal.
Yeah.
So,
And the reassurance is that we are doing the investigation to find family. And I have access to resources that they don't in terms of finding individuals, so they're not as inclined to just.
I sort of feel like with the funeral homes, I mean, this isn't that common, but I think that there is definitely a concern as we're sort of seeing an increase in homelessness. That is a population that frequently, more frequently than the homed, goes unclaimed. And it's not that you have, we can identify folks, but a lot of times with these folks, they've sort of burned every family bridge on the way to homelessness that they can. And yeah, you find a brother that hasn't talked to their brother in 20 years, and they're just said, I'm not going to be, I'm not claiming them, I'm not, so that's the worry, I think, that the funeral home has, is that as we are still struggling with how best to deal with our transient homeless population, that we may see, increases in the number of these bodies that go either unclaimed or unidentified. And I think probably the funeral home is right in wanting to sort of manage their own risk, of this as well. And so getting a policy where we're all on the same page just sort of makes sense.
So we want a motion to approve the unclaimed body policy
I'll make that motion.
as requested or approved recommended by our county attorney, Matt Wilbur.
I'll make the motion.
Awesome.
Second.
Sherry, thanks for working on this.
Thank you.
I know it was a pain, but it needed.
It's long overdue.
Yep.
It really is. It gives them the reassurance that they need.
So we'll still only have the one, funeral home provide the service at this point?
Correct. Two as one. So yes. And then the two outlying ones in the east side of the county, yes. So there's technically 4, if you
Right,
counted them by name,
sure.
yes.
So Marty's participating?
No, He has never participated in the call rotation.
That's what I thought, okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, any other discussion for either Matt or Sherry? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. I'm going to, John, before we get into you, I want to take about a 5-minute break here. So we'll be back at 11 o'clock.
Thanks, Sherry.
Thank you.
I gotta take
Long
care
time
of the
coming.
duties as assigned.
Appreciate the support.
Yeah. Matt,
Sure.
all you done?
I already put that in there. That was that line item we added for the 5, but we had posted to 10 at the leadership meeting.
Perfect.
Okay.
Yep, exactly. Thanks, Mitch.
So I'll tell you, I'm gonna have, haven't heard any rumors. I assume I have.
Been off easy a couple of times.
I've filled in no problems.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, they wanted that for a long time.
That's it. Could be the job just sucks that bad.
What do you think about that?
I am never ever going to.
Them saying that
I'd heard.
they don't want to line up for one that they currently have.
We'll talk about it more.
I think there's probably an opportunity, when we reconstruct the road, there is an entrance.
Right, I do too.
Thing is, Texas got temporary.
And we can put it into the rice cake.
Yeah, if it's funding, yeah, I just floated it out there, but I think we should put that in the rice grant. I think we realign it.
No, that's great.
Do it that way.
I like trying different ways.
Then the other one, if you just want to get a permit, let's clean it up, so the one he hasn't built
Is it
yet.
even working? I don't think it's
Yeah, he doesn't have a
working.
problem with
It's working for
that.
27
He just didn't
minutes,
want to
and all of a
reconstruct
sudden
because of the
it
cost.
says
Yeah, I think you can put that in the rice grant.
Guys,
On that one.
They gotta
Are you
see
gonna
it.
respond to that?
No,
I've been
I
very spoiled
won't.
the past 20 years.
Yeah, if all that doesn't line up, there's no point in having turning lanes, it's just gonna be trucks looking at each other.
yeah, it doesn't make any sense. Do you need anything else from me?
No, I'm just trying to figure out what kind of tool I'm gonna use, it's too big for our office.
Really?
Having a lack of confidence might be
What you do?
I'll do that. Cheesy
That's something
catch.
I'm critical of, staging of the traffic and temporary bridge, we figured that one out.
The Retro Bridge.
Red Bridge, yeah, it's all just kind of terrifying.
The guys from DOT let Jennifer know that we were planning on doing that already.
Now ours is looking at the ones that are
I haven't, there's like 10 other shop.
precincts all
I haven't worked,
cobbled together
don't
in
really
the same
great
place.
relationship with those guys, I haven't used them, I just worked with that Jake Gooden's, I think that did an amazing job at the airport. I'm kind of afraid they'll get some little satellite
I can
out
see
there.
that's not brisket. I chaired the county.
You don't really want that.
I mean, they own, you know, they bought
And
chips
then I
now.
was.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
not
yeah.
here,
I
I'm
got
not.
one time.
It's on here.
No.
Drake last night.
Oh, we
But
don't.
it-
Yeah, I've seen everything.
Just focused on their own.
Good.
Very impressed with working with Jay on that area, just thorough, communicative, got his stuff done, yeah. Can't use HDR, the kid works there.
Has any shot of making it into
I
the
saw chicken salad somewhere.
into the national. Come on.
Is there any jobs down there?
Yes.
Visitor chicken hospital, you get a ride for lunch.
We need to.
No, that means it's not an immediate development,
We need
it's
to
not an immediate
decouple
need, so.
from fiat currency.
So stuff like that, like,
Weird stuff. And I'm like, I'm old and
They could,
cranky.
they would
Like,
look
I
at
just
it,
can't,
but I
I'm like, I
mean,
can't
it's,
spend 2 hours a
based
day,
on the other
you
parcels
know,
that could be
arguing
opened
over
up.
whether there's a comma here or
I'll just
not.
like to eat chicken.
Or somebody that
They're
like,
afraid
apparently
of
their
the
whole hobby
city
is
has a
reach out
hunt,
to
they deny they have a hunt.
and I
have
get
a
stuck being
piece.
parliamentarian. And
About ready
they
to
wanted
fix
to
my
debate
lane.
me on rules. I'm like, I'm just trying to get this out of here like before.
Right.
So,
That'd be
you
wrong,
know.
I think.
I know.
Yeah,
It'd be fun, but it'd be wrong.
Yeah, so I just, there's only so much that I can take. I'm like the least political politician, probably anybody knows, like, I just don't. It's not that I don't care, I'm engaged in a lot of issues, but that type of
What'd you
stuff.
say, Bristol?
Dumb.
That's determined, I don't know.
I just can't.
Picture, does it matter?
Yep.
How do we make it matter?
Yeah.
Chuck and I had a good chat last night,
Who did?
Chuck and I,
Oh, good.
at the city council meeting.
Yeah?
was fun.
I couldn't haul myself out, John Shirley.
Is that why we didn't have anybody? We had 10 people all together.
They're sort of talking back.
Talking.
Oh, well, you had 6 at the city council meeting,
That's
so,
pretty typical.
yeah. And none of them spoke. They all just came.
It's already there, but he's like.
I've never seen that before. Usually you don't go to a city council meeting unless you're gonna talk.
Kind of,
Get motivated to get.
Yeah, there's a little more,
That's my primary.
there's a little more civic engagement in Crescent than there is some other places.
Yeah, but not much.
Well, it's still good.
I mean, my God.
They showed up and listened.
unless you piss them off,
Yeah.
you know, and then they all show up.
Then you never hear, yeah,
Yeah,
never hear
then
the
they
end
all
of it.
show up, you can't get them all in the room.
Chuck runs an efficient meeting though.
That's right. 'Cause I-
He's good.
I mean, he's quick. It doesn't, there's not a lot of lollygagging. Everybody has their information they need.
Okay, just, yeah, give me the brisket.
One and done. Yeah, see how our house stuff was. I said, we got it all closed as long as it's done. You know, Mayor Bardsley, Crescent, serves legal aid.
It is?
Mayor Bardsley, Denny Bardsley.
Yeah, he still does that?
Because my mother-in-law's house was in her reverse mortgage. And all these problems getting it out of it, and we got served legal paperwork and he came to our house.
Are we having a
Talked to my
meeting
husband.
tomorrow then?
Yeah.
It's like a like, really? You had to pick the one person I work with.
do.
He's got so many side hustles, he loves these are.
It's just, he's like, how the hell work is it's done.
Friday, tomorrow, and Tuesday?
Because my brother-in-law.
Or Monday?
Idiot.
Figure out a way to.
We're still on Monday?
Family has them.
Every family has them. See my house? That's my house right now. It's all gone. Just torn apart. She's all done. It's so good.
Like, I don't think I'm not.
How do you do list gone bad?
Hey, thanks
Huh?
for putting that
How
one
do you do
together.
list gone bad?
I do this
Yeah,
all right.
right.
Oh,
Shao actually drafted it, yeah.
yeah, no, those are good.
It worked?
Yeah, well, we'll see, hopefully. Still gotta get a contractor out.
I have
there,
everything-
give us some
everything
quotes
crossed for you
and
guys.
stuff, but,
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why not. I mean, it was
Try.
100% the definition of what they're looking for,
Yeah,
so.
literally, but like
Those
fit
kind of told me the
perfectly into what
entryways
you're
would be off
Yeah,
PBS.
so-
Let us know if you need anything else.
Yeah.
So if this whole Rise Grant thing doesn't happen, there's no way.
Is that right? I need to.
Yeah.
But
Appreciate it.
I'll be
we
gone.
were gonna show you yours first, then we decided not to.
I'll be out in the office.
Shall, how's everything?
Yeah,
Good?
good. We're rolling right along.
Otherwise, I don't know.
Nice and busy, which
We
is
wanted
great.
to listen to our friend back there, but you guys called a break, so now we have to leave.
John?
Different now. They're not gonna-
We had the
Did
most,
something interesting to say.
I know, we work with them a lot, so he's one of our favorite people, by the way.
happy Tuesday, guys.
Mark that down, John.
See ya.
Bye, ladies.
Bring some more businesses.
But
Working on it.
I really hope I do not have,
All right, we're gonna be ready to roll.
I think
here
I
pretty
would.
quick, too.
I sort of feel like by now I would start to hear if somebody, you know, maybe making noise, showing up at meetings, it's not.
Sorry, John, there was a couple things we needed to get taken
That's
care
okay.
of.
I didn't put me on the agenda, so you must have done that anyway. I just sent you guys an email update and didn't think we were gonna meet.
Well, I think we missed seeing your smiling face, John.
That's it. Must be it.
Really what it was?
Worked really hard, and so. Absolutely.
Did you guys figure out my budget?
No. What I was kind of going through and was trying to figure out was where so it's because all of your payroll so comes out at 20, you figure out how that money gets there for their raises. I assume the county transfers money in there somewhere. I know a lot of it comes from the rural transfer, right?
Yeah. So, for the only local transfer I get rural services.
Didn't have, it was just my.
I think what everybody misses is that carryover balance, cause I'm always managing that as well too.
Yeah, I was just trying to figure out what the effects were of making changes to wages and if I needed how to count Fund 20 in the calculations.
Chased about those things.
Yeah.
We can count the revenue of the 20, but
Okay, we're gonna get rolling again
I
here.
think I halfway got it now.
Next up, we have John Rasmussen, discussion concerning the traffic control for Lewis Township Volunteer Fire. John, you're up.
I don't have anything new to report. I kinda gave you an update by email, last week. Reached out to the city council plus, talked about managing it by 2080. I don't think they were against that, they just wanted a traffic study done, so working on a traffic study, I'm waiting for proposals on that. That'll be the next step.
You're gonna do another traffic study?
Yes, we have to do a traffic study, see if the lights are warranted. So, yeah, we're gonna update that one.
So, I have, I've talked to John a couple times too, but, I've got Mappa looking at this also. And then, I talked to Scott Sewer with DOT, and he had indicated that the signal that they put down, which is a little different deal, it was Highway 6 at the time, that they put down on 27th and Broadway, that they were able to do it without, what do you call it, showing the accidents or showing proof of that it's necessary when it's warranted, that's it, the warranted. He said that he thought there was something in the code that if it involved emergency, vehicles, that you somehow can go possibly around that type of thing if it's involved in entering and exiting of emergency vehicles, but, that's,
So is he thinking that that possible could be the advanced warning assembly?
well, I don't know, I think, John's comments are probably more in base, once we see the study, that it's gonna need to be a full light.
Yeah, I worry if we talk about the danger of that intersection, we probably should study the danger of that intersection before we make a decision, so
Okay,
I think we need to see if it needs to be a full build out or just an advanced warning
okay.
on that.
I mean, I don't mind your comment about, needing to have data and stuff to back it up. I mean, I get that, but the community out in that area especially wants this as well. So just because, I mean, we can make that argument on a lot of different things in this community, all throughout the county, that, data might not warrant it necessarily, but if the people want it, we shouldn't ignore that and say, well, I got the study that says we don't need it. I mean, that's that fine line. So, I mean, I just want to be careful of those blanket comments like that, because there's an overwhelming amount of people in that area that would like to see this happen. So rather than find a way not to do it, I want to find a way that maybe we can.
Sure, I just don't wanna move ahead to light, then they ask me for a traffic study and then we're
No, I'm
back to
with
square
you.
one.
I'm not saying you're going about this the wrong way. I just want to make sure that, our messaging on this is clear, that we're not trying to find a way not to do it. We're just trying to make sure we've researched all our,
They wouldn't let us do it without this, I don't believe,
I
right?
don't think so either,
What
but
the letter said.
maybe they would for the fire station, I don't know, I just think you need to look at that full light first and dismiss
Right.
that or accept that.
But you think the city, if we build it, that they'd be okay to the 2080? Is that kind of the sense you're
Yeah, I
getting?
think I just talked to Matt Cox and it was pretty informal, yeah, I think there's some work to develop that, but I don't know, they seemed open to it, I guess.
They don't, they almost have, I say have to, but it'd be advantageous for all of us because of the timing that's between there and those traffic moving, not to have that one not.
Yeah, they're managing lights on both sides of that one, so
Right.
it needs done, but.
Yeah, it seems odd that it wouldn't.
I mean, I don't know how you would manage that one. We don't have the abilities to manage it, do we?
No, I think they're kind of set up with cameras and they have a little war room and everything to manage all the lights in town. I mean, they staff that. We don't have anything like that currently.
Right, okay. So who initiated the study? I guess I didn't ask DOT. Do you initiate it then?
Yeah, I'm requesting proposals for that. So I talked to Matt and he wanted the study, so I asked him who the city liked to use and I want to use somebody they're comfortable with, so.
So it isn't the same outfit that did the first study then?
No.
Okay.
I just think what's hard with these studies, like, how do you measure near misses? You know, like, how can you possibly measure that? I don't think there's a really good way you can. You know, in the intersection off Highway 370 and 189th Street, for example, it's probably one of the most dangerous intersections in Mills County. But the DOT said, well, there's no data to back this up. Well, then they went down there and after both several different entities went down there to get them to look at this thing, and they're like, oh, wow, we agree. You know, so I don't know how you measure near misses.
Yeah, I think they just calculate risk based on the turning movements and traffic counts.
I just, that whole, and then we think bigger picture, you know, like down the line, what we wanna see in that whole stretch of highway, you know, like 10, 15, 20 years from now. You know, in my mind, I'd like there to be 2 lanes on both sides all the way to Trainer, instead of just, you know, whittling it down into just the 2 lane it is now. I know they got those little, you know, whatever you call those, the speed
Pull-offs.
deals, but, yeah.
Passing lane?
But, I mean, at some point, we gotta look at that too. I mean, what is our goal? Do we want to expand out that way? I mean, I just think we need to make this all encompassing.
But that's a state highway. And they go by traffic count totally for 4 lane, don't they?
Yeah. And I mean, Highway 20 is probably the most recent 4-lane project, so I don't know what the traffic comparison is from Highway 20 to 92. First things first, though, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know.
And they probably haven't got an updated count because, I don't know, what's that, has it been a year yet since they opened that up down there and it,
Oh, Eastern Hills Drive.
Eastern Hills Drive.
If I change some of the
Because
traffic.
a lot of the people probably go out that way to head down to get on the interstate rather than.
Oh, yeah, a lot of people, absolutely.
That live hills of Cedar Creek are out that way, so.
Yeah, the last study, we had to do physical counts, so we were out there doing the counts, marking, running traffic and everything else.
It just blows me. I grew up out there and I can vouch firsthand knowledge and tell you that it's a dangerous intersection. I grew up out there. I mean, I drove it when I was a kid, you know, in high school. I mean, it is dangerous. There's no question in my mind. You know, and it's like we get these studies done from the state and there's no possible way they can measure what I've seen up there. And I just don't know. I don't wanna drop this ball.
I agree.
First death we have there, we're gonna say we wish you'd have done this.
I don't think we should take lightly that intersection. Them guys being volunteers, that's a big deal to me. And anything that can help them speed the process and be safer, I'm in. These guys deserve that life, in my opinion.
John, will that traffic study, it'll provide a recommendation?
Yes, we will.
If the recommendation's flashing lights, what's the cost? Will they provide a cost, or do you know the cost of those?
Oh, I'll put that in proposal that to provide the estimate on
Who
that.
pays for that?
I will, roads will,
For the cost?
for the study.
No. For the lights?
Yeah, I don't know. That's something we need to resolve too.
Okay.
How long does those studies take? A year?
No, I think it'll be faster than that. I guess you just have to get their availability from them, but.
Okay.
So who would the 28E agreement be with?
The city council office.
And Lewis Township Fire?
Gonna need some help on that one too, I guess. Lots of moving pieces here. I don't know if that's with you, the board, the Lewis Township, or.
It's just a
Who's
weird
gonna cover
deal.
those
It services,
operating
it's a
costs?
state highway, services county roads and city limits. It's a super weird deal.
I would think we probably have to have something with, whether it's, 28E or memorandum of understanding with the IDOT too.
Probably. It's just, I mean, these weird
I
development.
mean, I don't
things
think
that happen.
Mid-America is gonna power it for free either, will they?
No, we gotta figure out the operating costs. Who's getting those?
I can't imagine that's gonna be overly expensive to power that only when needed.
Well, you still gotta get, what do you gotta get? Well, that'd be part of the
No,
cost.
if it's a full light, it'll run all the time.
Is that what, you know?
John,
If the
how many
study
light
comes back, that's
systems
yes,
do
and
we
that's what it's
have
gonna
as a
do.
county?
There's a couple in the county, the city's running them.
Is that like out by Western?
That's all city.
Oh.
Valley View is kind of one of those that's right on the county-city line. So that's
Okay.
a strange one, but
Okay.
yeah, we haven't really got into lights. The one out in Eastern Hills Drive is entirely in the county. The city's operating that one.
Is that a 28E?
We have an agreement on that one.
Okay.
Does that study have to be completed for anything to be put on the state highway?
I'm gonna think the DOT is gonna ask for it, but I'm mostly doing it to make sure if we need a full light set or if just a warning for the fire department. I mean, if it's really that dangerous, we probably better do our due diligence on the light itself.
So Scott Sewer says there may be a loophole. You talk to him pretty regular? Okay.
I think that's just for the fire station though.
That's, no, that's,
Okay.
I know, you said that, and I was,
Just
maybe see what he has to say first.
if it's something that has to be done, then maybe we should start the 28E discussion now.
Right.
And,
I mean, I think it's probably worth doing, I agree.
I mean, there.
Push map
I
a
got
little
it.
bit.
Well, I believe there's a agreement with the city and the DOT on those lights on
Eastern Hills and.
just on 92 in general that run all the way across the Omaha. You know, it's a state highway.
It's a busy corridor.
No,
It's just a weird deal. I mean, I'm telling you guys, I'm taking my daughter up there tonight for dance, and I'm telling you, I will see a near miss tonight. I promise you, I'll see one. And it has nothing to do with you, an emergency vehicle. It's just regular traffic.
Mm-hmm.
And that,
Well, maybe the city should control that a little more.
should they or should the county? I mean, that's the argument. They're gonna push back and say, well, wait a minute, that's servicing county neighborhoods. That's going to county, and it really is.
It's a state, it's a city.
But it's a state highway and a city limit along the road. I mean, it's a weird, if you look at the map and you were to draw like who has jurisdiction of what over there, it's super strange. I
Yeah,
mean,
but I don't
it's
think it's in
checkerboard.
the city limits.
Well,
Is it the? I thought
the
you
road
told me-
itself is my understanding.
92?
Yeah, because that's how they connected up, Hills of Cedar, Hills of Cedar
Really?
Creek. Where are they connecting that from?
No, Greenview. That's how they connected up through the hills. Should be able to get a city map, but
I don't know.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, it mostly goes out Valley View and.
No idea, a
Greenview.
city controlled light on 92, I'm like, I mean, that makes no sense either then. Just because they have the capability to do it, I mean, you know what I mean, it's weird.
Well,
Hills
they got,
Drive is
and
city.
you know, and I'm not sure, but that project was, 20 years in the making before it got completed.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if the feds required the signal out there on 92 to get all the monies or what, to be honest with you. I don't know. It's a good question.
Well, we paid for 50% of that project. In the city,
Which percent?
of the match money, we paid 50% and the city paid 50%. So whether it's in the city or the county, we both just paid 50%.
So do we have half of the roundabout then?
Yeah, so we had costs in that light, we had costs in the roundabouts.
Who operates the, I know
Half
the
a
county,
roundabout.
the city does, but do they pay for operation? Okay.
I mean, to the Greenview, I mean,
Until they what?
Greenview's
Watch this
checkerboard
meeting.
too. You go up Greenview, city to the top of the hill, and then all of a sudden it becomes county road all the way up to basically just past the water
Well,
tower
it's
there, and then back to city again.
Yeah, it's almost just the opposite of what you'd think on Greenview. It's,
And we put a city neighborhood dumping out on the county road right there.
right.
I mean, there's just a lot of those strange little things out there, but I mean, I'm telling you, there's no doubt in my mind that is a dangerous intersection anyway. That stretch of highway, I mean, I had a friend lose his leg on that stretch of highway. We just buried him last week, actually. Had a blood clot and died. And, that stretch of highway is where it happened. I mean, it is dangerous. There's no doubt in my mind. I'd take you up there tonight and show you if you want to see it. You can just watch from the parking lot and just watch everything that almost happens there.
My mom's in Risen Sun, I guess, so, yeah, I've heard about it.
Yeah.
She tried to get a light there.
I think she would like one
People
there
are
too.
driving unlawful, then maybe we need, somebody to control that a little bit.
But the problem, that's just it, they go flying up that highway, but by the time they get to the crest of the hill, that's where the incident's gonna be, in the place where our deputies are safely patrolling it, they already, it's basically where the old gas station used to be.
Mhm.
I mean, it's not, what would be ideal is if Lewis Township Fire Department was like, another football field east, and then I think we'd be fine, because then they're not right at the crest of the hill.
It's not.
But it's not there, and I don't see them moving anytime soon, so. In the meantime, I feel like we gotta do our part, and John, I believe you are, so I mean, I hope you know that, I'm not trying to act like you're not, I truly feel the need's there, I'm passionate about it, and I'm not gonna let it go, so. If I gotta be that one supervisor, so be it.
You got a second one here.
I think we got all the people we need to. I just, I guess, based on the comments, connect with, the DOT and, the city and see if there is some sort of, if it's an MOU or a 2080 or what kind of agreement they have for the lights along there. Chances are we'll run up against this again sometime, so I can't see it. They'll probably want to give us 6 like they're doing to the city, so we probably won't see it over there possibly, but we may see more out 92 or something.
That's not, well, never mind, we have another, I was thinking that one, that Macedonian turnoff too, that turning lane would be nice out that way to look at.
If we get somebody on the, well, that's, of course, there's Highway 6, but we get somebody on the DOT commission to help us put a couple of lanes out there, I think that would be,
Just need some money to buy your spot.
beneficial. I think we're working on it, not for me. Okay, any other questions for John? Hey, John, come back to us, let us know where we're at on that study, how long it's gonna take. Give us a recommendation on 2080 agreements, who they should be with. We'll talk with the city and see who they should be with. I think that I'm in favor of doing something. It's just a matter of who's gonna pay for it and who's gonna cover the continuing cost of operation. And I think that Lewis Township Fire Department needs to be involved in it somewhere too. Just get back to us on that.
Yeah, I'll carry it through the study, then after that, we can need some help, but
Okay.
yeah, I'll pay for the study.
Have you had in contact with Lewis Township Fire then?
No.
Okay, well, you might want to give them an update that we're moving ahead with.
Or Al, anyway.
Well, Al or that
Al Wegman.
Jacob.
I did talk to Al the other day,
Okay,
told him we were seeing where we were today, and I could call him if you want, or you can, I don't care. You got his number?
I think I have an email for him.
If you don't, I'll text you that number.
Okay.
thank you.
Thanks, John.
Okay, moving on.
Thanks, Hannah.
Hi.
Anything else? All right, moving on. Janet Lemrick, Director of Human
Thank you, Matt.
Resources.
Thanks for your help on
Discussion to approve natural areas management intern crew lead job description. Ms. Lemrick, you're up.
So we've had the NAM intern job for a long time, but I think last year it was discovered that a lead would be really helpful to lead that crew. So that's what we're talking about today, the NAM lead position. Just getting that approved. And again, it's an intern position, but who's going to lead the other interns?
Is that, does that come with a recommendation from the Conservation Board?
As far as like when they're all finished?
No, that's got.
Oh, yes, I spoke with Mark about it before coming here today, yeah. And Jeff Franco helped create it, so yes. Yeah, this isn't just me bringing this to you without working with them.
No, I mean, this is a part-time position for summer stuff.
Yep.
That isn't that guy we hired, or they hired a few months ago.
No,
Okay.
this position it's actually posted right now, so we haven't hired anyone yet.
Okay.
But they did have someone last year that,
Posted it in one group.
I didn't.
Oh.
I saw it and then said, you know what, I better go talk to the board about this. So here we are.
Good call.
Yeah. If you're curious about the pay differences, the lead will range is $14 to $16 an hour, and then those that they're leading is $11 to $13 an hour.
We get people to do
You get people.
Yes, we sure do. Mm-hmm.
Well, they get, if they're
What do you
doing the
call this, the
internship,
great resignation?
they're getting,
Word right now? Something like that.
Credit?
They're getting experience. This is a difficult field. I mean, if you think about it, there aren't that many conservation jobs around, and once someone gets it, they usually stay. So the experience is invaluable.
I'll make a motion to approve it.
I'll second it.
Right passes, you get into conservation someday kind of thing, which sucks.
Yeah, but don't they have to have a certain amount of time in it?
I imagine these are high school kids and then retirees and generally speaking.
College?
Probably not retirees. That would be more like maybe burn crew kind of. But yeah, high school, ending high school, they want to go into a career of conservation in college.
So, I mean,
Let's see, I mean, you know, if you
I
retire,
don't feel like these are the people trying to make a living off this. These are people that are just trying to get to their next step.
It's just for their experience, correct. And once we, I can take a look to see how many applicants do we have for this position, if you'd like an update. Let's say it's really low, maybe we need to take a look at the pay, but if we have plenty of applicants, I think it's okay. I mean, I know.
Pretty full in the summer, aren't they?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you said the salary's been reviewed by their conservation board.
Yes.
This is a recommendation.
Yes, this came from Mark and Jeff, correct.
remember that, Brad?
Didn't you?
The discussion on this, from this?
A little bit, yeah. They were talking about the interns and stuff. Okay. I think you were sleeping.
No, I don't miss much. Any other discussion for Jana? If Mark's watching, here's the vote, Mark. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, there we go. Jana, thanks for that.
You're welcome.
I'll see you in a little bit.
Okay.
Let's see, next up, we have Becky Lenahan. Discussion decision to approve or disallow the applications made to the assessor's office for homestead exemption, military exemption, disabled veteran, homestead exemption, business property tax exemption, and family farm exemption. I think that if you guys noticed in your packet that the list of disallowance is in there, and it looks like the majority of them are not all, if not all of them, are because they don't live at the address. Is that what it is, Becky?
A lot of them are like that, yes.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, any other questions for Becky? We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, rocking on. Now I'll entertain a motion to go into closed session pursuant to Iowa Code 20.17, parent 3, discussion and or decision on labor negotiations and collective bargaining matters.
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Becky, you call the roll, please.
Chairman Wickman?
All right,
Supervisor Shea?
Yep.
Belt?
all right.
Groby?
Aye.
Schultz?
Okay, Becky, can you get that one shut off? And then Jana will take your